Whenever you worry about the way the world is going, you can find great comfort by reading the last chapter of the story. For believers in the race of life, there is a certain future which follows a great final battle here on planet Earth. For details of that future, stay with us. From Chicago's Moody Church, this is Running to Win with Dr. Erwin Lutzer, whose clear teaching helps us make it across the finish line. The end of world history is before us as Erwin Lutzer concludes a look at the final battle, the ultimate destiny of the saved and the lost, at the return of Christ, who will literally reign on this earth.
It says in Isaiah chapter 11, verse 9, that the knowledge of the Lord shall cover the earth even as water covers the sea. And of course water covers the sea. What else would cover the sea except water? Come to think of it. And that's the way the knowledge of the Lord shall be over the whole earth. It says in Isaiah chapter 2, in that day many people shall go and say, Come ye unto the mountain of the Lord, unto the house of the God of Jacob, for he shall teach us his ways, and we shall walk in his paths. For the word of the Lord shall go forth from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks, and nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. I'm told that verse, by the way, is inscribed here in the United States in the United Nations building. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, their spears into pruning hooks. Are you telling me that the United Nations is going to bring that about? The United Nations is going to cause the nations of the earth to put down their armaments? You say, well, we're living in a period of peace. Of necessity, it is a deceptive peace. I know some of you are saying, Pastor Lutzer, you seem to be a pessimist today. I know I am, but remember that a pessimist is nothing more than an informed optimist. There is no way in the world that the United Nations is going to fulfill the prophecies in the Old Testament that pertain to God's millennium and the reign of Jesus Christ on earth. Now, there's a third event. First of all, Jesus Christ will return to the earth in two stages. He will rule the earth, and finally, he will judge the earth. He will judge the earth. At the last part of chapter 19, the beast and the false prophet who deceived so many people during the tribulation period are already thrown into the lake of fire. And after the 1,000 years are ended, Satan is allowed one more time to try to get up in a rebellion. I don't know why. God didn't seem to tell us why this was necessary. But he goes to the ends of the earth and he discovers that because people in the millennium are actually bearing children, because they are in their earthly bodies, there are some children who have grown up during those 1,000 years who do not belong to God, because even if Satan is bound, the human heart is still wicked and people turn away from God, and Satan is actually able to drum up some support for his final rebellion against God. And what a pitiful spectacle it is. Verse 8, and he will come out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog. That just really means end-time ruler. Should not be confused with Ezekiel 38 and 39. To gather them together for war, the number of them is like the sand on the seashore. Say, oh my goodness, maybe they'll be able to do now what they couldn't do during the turn of events in Armageddon. Oh, my goodness. And they came upon the broad plain of the earth and surrounded the camp of the saints and the beloved city, which is, of course, Jerusalem. And fire came down from heaven and devoured them. God says that is enough. Like taking a candle and just snuffing out the light, saying, that is it. That's the final rebellion of man and the devil. Verse 10. And the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are also, and they will be tormented day and night forever and ever and ever and ever. And the degree of their torment will be determined by the number of victories that Satan won over God while he was in existence upon this planet. And therefore, every single thing that he has ever done will be adequately recompensed, so that there will be a sense of justice and the equilibrium of justice throughout all of eternity. We are going to behold the incredible justice of God. It's part of my message next week. And we're all going to be able to say that God did all things well. And notice how it came out. You say, well, what about the people? Well, verse 11 and following, which I memorized many years ago in the King James Version of the Bible. It's one of the most awesome, frightening passages of Scripture for those who do not know Jesus Christ, because the dead of all the ages are going to be resurrected and personally and individually stand before God. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, before whose face the earth and the heavens fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and Hades delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged, every man according to his works. You say, well, I thought salvation is by grace. How come they're judged according to their works? They are not judged to see whether they will enter into heaven. They are judged on the basis of what they did with what they knew. Accurate, precise judgment, so meticulously weighed out, it would be like a pharmacist weighing out your prescription, so that the balances of justice are perfect. All of them will suffer forever, but not all of them will suffer the same degree forever. It will depend on what they did with what they knew. And then in chapters 21 and 22 of Revelation, which obviously we cannot get into, that is heaven for the saints. The description is there. 3 great events. Christ returns to the earth. Christ rules over the earth for 1,000 years. And then Christ judges the earth and all the inhabitants that have ever been a part of the earth. Now, I want to tell you, my friend, that you can tell your love for Christ or your indifference toward him by whether or not you're looking forward to his coming. Are you glad to see him? If he were to come this afternoon, would he spoil your schedule? Would he rain on your parade?